Vinaka, and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind. With me, Louise Kaunisela. Yes, it's been a while, and we've got our guest in the studio because we're having Capital Markets Week. That's next week. We have our guest, the Business Development Manager, and this is of the South Pacific Stock Exchange, and this is Pritesh Prasad. A very warm welcome to the show.
Welcome, Luis, and thanks for having us.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And we also have here our friend, and he's the manager as well as Fiji stockbroker, Esaromi Emmanuel. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for this opportunity.
Vinaka. Now, I know that, when we hear the word South Pacific Stock Exchange, it can be quite difficult. So we'll start off with the question of what are capital markets?
Okay, thank you, Luis. I would like to explain this in a bit broader way. So, firstly, I would like to say that the capital markets, people must have also heard about money markets. Now, what we need to understand is above the capital markets and the money markets, we have the financial markets. So, one arm of the financial markets is the money markets. Now, when we talk about the money markets, it's quite simple, quite straightforward. I guess people understand or have access to them more compared to capital markets. Because money markets is where we talk about banks and other financial institutions. Mm-hmm. Now, equally important as the money market is the capital markets. Now, capital markets is where we have unit trusts as well as the stock market. So, stock market, and with the stock market, we also have the licensed stockbrokers. So, licensed stockbrokers, which I think I'll get an opportunity to explain later in the show, what their role is specifically. Now with them, so with the stockbrokers, we have the stock exchange, the South Pacific Stock Exchange in Fiji, which is the stock market here in Fiji, makes up the capital markets. So that's how it's structured. And if you look at the stock market in particular, stock market is like any other market. Now if you look at, say for example, you want to buy a property, you go through licensed real estate agents, for example. Now similarly, when you want to buy shares, you go through licensed stockbrokers. And if you look at the stock market, as I said, it's similar to any other market. So if you look at the vegetable market, for example, it's a market where people buy and sell vegetables. Now, stock market is similar to any other market. The only thing is we buy and sell shares. That's the only difference.
Okay, so maybe Esaromi Emmanuel, you might like to add on to what we've had Pritesh Prasad talk about.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Luis. A capital market, for me or for anybody who do not understand, it's just the investment market.
Okay.
So it's probably a step up from the money market, and that's where you can invest, not just savings. Invest your funds, and there probably as Pritesh has mentioned, there are probably four main probably structures.
Okay.
You get the regulators, which are Stock Exchange and Reserve Bank, who supervise the market. And then we have the brokers and investment advisors who advise clients. And then we have investment places, like share market. They've got the 19 share companies. And then you have the unit trust, where we have currently there's two. And then you have a bond market as well by Reserve Bank. And then the fourth players are the people who comes into the market to come and invest, or want a higher return than the money market or the banks.
I see. So, I mean, when we hear about the Stock Pacific South Exchange, we think about who can invest. Like we think only rich people can invest. Maybe you might like to share if, a normal working person would like to invest, it's possible, and there are returns on it as well.
Yes, it's very much possible. Now, generally when people look at the stock market, they think it's more so a rich man's thing, or it's a rich man's club. And now we would like to clarify that it's not. Anyone can be an investor in the listed companies on the stock market. And having said that, we have evidence of investors. There are a whole range of investors. So what we call the retail, or if I simplify it, the mom and dad investors. We have a whole range of individual people or mom and dad investors who invest in the stock market. And as Romy has explained, if you look at the stock market is where the investments are a bit more risky. Now, we understand that if investments are risky, then it goes with the level of return as well. So high risk goes with high return. So what it simply means is for investors who are looking at an opportunity where they can grow their money or their savings at a faster rate and get higher returns on their savings, then possibly the stock market is the place to be.
Okay. So when you say risky, why?
Yep. The stock market investments are risky because if you look at the share price from the listed companies, share prices usually fluctuate. So it keeps going up and down. So that is a risk in itself, because if you look at, say, for example, you buy shares in a company, say it's trading at $1. Now, say someone comes into the market and sells the shares at 90 cents. So you obviously get a hit of 10 cents drop. Now, as long as the fundamentals of that particular company is strong, you know that company is making profits, you know that the share price is going to bounce back. That is why we say that the share market is not for short-term investments. It is an investment if you're looking at having your money invested for over, say, 3 to 5 years or even longer. Because we know, or generally studies have proven, or the research has proven, that share market continues to perform or performs well or faster or better than all other forms of investments over the long term.
Okay, so I'm sure Fiji stockbroker Eseromi, you would be able to also explain more about, because you advise buyers who come in. So what do you normally tell them, truthfully?
Yes, in the share investments or probably capital market investments, when a client comes in, we normally advise or probably ask them for their objectives, objective of the investments. And that's where we determine the risks are, whether the potential investor would like longer term investments, what kind of return, and probably what age category he's in. So a younger guy or probably a working guy probably can take more risk than, say, a retired one. Yeah.
Okay.
And apart from that, you have a different type of investments which have different risk rate, or what we can say. Some shares are riskier than the others, or even shares compared to unit trust or compared to bonds. So we'll tailor-made those kind of investments to suit the person. So risk is based on two things. One is the person that's coming in, and the other is the different types of investments, or for shares, the different types of companies that are there.
So obviously you give them the best advice, don't you, Eseromi?
Yes, to match their objective or their risk profile.
So when you look at it, how can you tell which one is a good... Well, anyway, we'll have to come back because we've run out of time. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM. We'll be back shortly. We're back on Speak Your Mind. Gold FM, only the classic hits. This is a live radio talkback show, and this is broadcast on FBC TV. A replay of it, that'll be 11 at night and tomorrow morning at 11. But anyhow, if you do have any questions, you can call 3220906 or 3220907. So if you're the person who'd like to understand more on the South Pacific Stock Exchange and how it works, well, we've been chatting a bit here with our friends, and I need to continue with the manager and Fiji stockbroker Eseromi. Now, how can you tell which option is best for the buyer when they come to you?
Okay, thanks, Luis. So it's based, as I said, on the person coming in with his objectives, and then what kind of rate of return he's expecting. And then what we'll do is match that against what's available. And with that, we have to be mindful of the types of investments we have. And also, those companies, say the share stock market, different companies have different results, operating results, profit results, and those, plus dividend results as well. So all those we'll take into account when picking which one is good. Apart from that, we'll have to, based on the client's objective, whether he's a short-term investor or long-term one, or we can advise him on which one which is probably better or match his objective. So we have, apart from the information available in the market, stock exchange as well have information on their website, where the records of all those companies, how they're paying their dividends, their profits are kept. So they can log in and see for themselves, or we, the brokers and advisors, can also advise the clients.
Vinaka Sarami. So now we'll turn to Manager Pritesh Prasad of the South Pacific Stock Exchange. Can you just tell us why is financial literacy important?
Okay, thanks, Luis. Financial literacy is important because if you look at financial literacy, it basically means the ability to manage your money. Now, if you look at or simply understanding how money works. Now, in this day and age, we need to have people with knowledge or be educated how they can actually maximize the returns they can get on their savings. Now, of course, people this day and age, they have started saving. There are people who save, and as individuals, we need to really understand how we can make that savings work better for us. So it's simply make more money for you. So that is why all our, like, if you look at from the stock exchange, and we focus quite a bit on investor awareness, and it is all in a bid to educate people the options that are available there, the alternatives they have if they want to invest their savings in. So that is what financial literacy means. It's basically understanding how your money works and managing your money to get maximum returns on your savings.
And looking forward to a better future.
Yes, of course.
For your children as well, right? So what is the basic difference between saving and investing?
Yep. Savings and investing, I understand some people are still confused between the two terms or treat it as one. Now, we would like to clarify that the two terms, savings and investments, are not equal. They're two different terms. Now, savings, if I put it simply, savings is simply when you get your wages and salaries, or maybe when you go to the market, you sell your produce, the money that you get from the sales you make or the wages and salaries you get, now part of it, you put it aside for future spending. Right? You put it at a place which is very easily accessible. And of course, it is very safe. And when I say safe, it means it must be put at somewhere which is not earning you any return, or maybe a very minimal return. So it's very accessible, something like an emergency fund. That's savings. Now, investment is one step higher than savings. Investment is simply when you use that saved fund to buy something that will grow in value, as well as for the time you have that money invested for, it is going to continuously give you some form of decent income over the period of your investment. So one example is you invest in shares, for example. Now, shares is a form of investment. Now, say you buy shares at $1 and you continue to hold it for the next 5 years. Now, if the company does well, the company that you have invested in performs financially well, then obviously the share price should tag along with it, should go up as well. Now, for the period you have invested for, say you invested at $1, as I said, if the share price continues to go up, say it goes up to $4, so that is the capital growth that you get, $3 per share, and that is a tax-free return that investors get, and it's one form of return that people get from shares. Now, the other form of return that people can get from share investments is the dividend that the company declares. So every company declares their own dividends, so it depends on the nature of the company, the kind of profits they have been making, and obviously these dividend decisions are made by board of directors of the company, and depending on how much they make, some companies have dividend payment policies as well. So if they make, say, a 5 million profit, they have a policy of distributing maybe 50% of that as dividends as well. So it all boils down to what kind of investment advice when you initially got when you invested. So the brokers, the licensed investment advisors, of course, have much detailed information about it. And when you go to them, when you approach them for investment advice, they'll be able to easily break this down for the listeners.
Okay, so when can you expect returns?
Yep, it depends. So share price movements can happen as and when trades go through. Right. So share price, and when I say share price movements, now share prices usually can either go up, it can also come down. But if you look at, as I explained earlier, if you look at the longer term, shares are known to outperform all other forms of investments. So if you continue to hold it over the long period, and if the company you invested in continues to do well, of course the share price is going to go up and you make a return from that. Yeah. And also the dividends, historically the companies that are listed on the South Pacific Stock Exchange here in Fiji, they usually pay two dividends. So first interim and the second interim. So every 6 monthly they give dividends. There are certain companies which give dividends once only, and there are certain companies which may give more than two dividends depending on how they perform. So they even end up paying special dividends as well.
Okay, so what determines the company doing well?
Yes, yeah. So I think it really comes down to the nature of business as well. So if a company is specialized, or it's a manufacturing company, for example, or say for example it's a supermarket company which is listed on the stock market, now it boils down to the operations, how well they manage the operations. And if you look at how well things are done on the ground in terms of generating sales, getting in new business, all this really boils down to the bottom line, what we call in financial terms the profit that the company makes.
Right.
So it's all regarded, or it's all depends on the nature of operations and how they operate the business. And also, having said that, I would like to add, it also comes down to the people who manage your company as well. Now once you invest in shares in a listed company, obviously you become part owner in that company as a shareholder.
Right.
Now you, on behalf of you as a shareholder, you obviously cannot run the company on a day-to-day basis. You of course have executive management, senior management, certain managers who run your company, and of course on top of them are the board of directors. Now that is one of the qualitative things, or the things that usually investors look for when they decide which company they should invest in. It comes down, they look at who are the people who are actually running the company.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Pritesh. We'll be back soon on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. And we've got our guest in the studio from the South Pacific Stock Exchange. He's a business development manager, Mr. Pritesh Prasad. And we've also got manager and Fiji stockbroker, Esaromi Emmanuel, just making us understand everything of how if you invest that you could have a good future. So my question now is, why should someone invest?
Yeah, thank you, Luis. There are many reasons why someone should invest. So all of us are, of course, rational human beings. We all have financial goals in life. So there are multiple reasons. So the first reason is we invest to help our savings grow at a faster rate. Now, of course, if you have savings and you just leave it idle, say put it just at home, then of course it doesn't earn you anything. You need to invest it somewhere where it can grow at a rate which is acceptable to you. So that's the first reason people invest, to grow their savings at a faster rate. The second one, and the most important one, is if you invest, you can have an alternate or a second source of income flowing to you. Now, say for example, there is someone working in an office as a full-time employment. Now, obviously, that person has a primary form of income either through wages or salaries.
Right.
Now, if that same person has some form of investment, say for example, invested in shares in a listed company, then that person can have a secondary source of income. So you as an individual, you have your two sources of income: your primary source of income from your wages and salaries, and also your secondary source of income from your investments. That's the third reason. The second reason, rather. The third reason is people invest to achieve future financial goals. Now, when I say future financial goals, say there are many. For example, you want to buy a house, say in 5 years' time. You want to buy a car, or say for example, you want to go for a dream holiday, or you want to have something that you can pass on to your kids or your grandkids. Or even some people also invest to start up their own business. They are looking at getting that the initial contribution that they need, the additional capital. So that is also one of the reasons why people invest. So if you invest now, you can build up, you can work towards achieving those financial goals. And also the final reason is for financial security as well. We all know that there can be unexpected events with you. Say for example, you have to attend to a financial need and meet up a funeral expense, for example, or you have a job loss, for example. Now you as an individual, you need to be prepared for all these unforeseen circumstances, as I would say.
Yes.
So for financial security, of course, could be another reason why people invest. Now, as a rational human being, if you think broadly, these are some of the reasons which should trigger in you that you should think about investments seriously and think sooner rather than later.
Okay, some people, they have that excuse. Man, I might die tomorrow. What's going to happen to my money? What would you say to them about that?
Yes, I think that is one of the usual questions that we usually get at the stock exchange. Now, say I have invested, and if I pass on, what happens to my shares? Now, we would like to say this on air. If you pass on, it does not mean that your shares get written off or anything like that. Your shares continue to exist, and your shares can always be passed on to whoever your next of kin or beneficiary is. Now, there is a certain process that needs to be followed. So, of course, that the beneficiary, whoever it is, needs to contact one of the stockbrokers such as Rom here, and they will advise of the process that is involved. So it still goes through the stock exchange platform where the transfer happens from the deceased person to whoever the beneficiary is. So there are plans or mechanisms in place which ensures or caters for all these situations which obviously are bound to happen.
Okay, so Esaromi, you might like to say, how is it done?
Oh, okay. For those with joint ownership, when a partner dies, it can be transferred to the other partner. But if single sole owner dies, then what's required in Fiji is the probate to undergo a probate process.
But I think the probate is not very good, is it? Because you won't get that money to go to the person that you want it to go. So they should write a will, I am sure.
Yes. When somebody dies, either that person will have a will or they don't.
Yes.
But most of them, for both of them, they'll have to go through a probate process.
Right.
So they either take out a probate through a lawyer, or they can go directly to the High Court registry who can assist them towards that probate process. Or for those earning less than, I think, 15,000, you can go to legal aid for, I think that's free service there for probate process.
Okay, well, yeah.
And once that's done, and then the probate will identify who will be the administrator or the trustee, and also the beneficiary.
Okay.
Then after that's done, then come back to us. Then we'll have the shares transferred to shares or say unit trust to whoever the beneficiary is.
So how much money do you actually, the minimum that you accept to be able to be an investor?
Yeah, because of the fees, brokers, stock exchange, and Reserve Bank, they have fees of around 2.5%. And there's a norm there that the minimum would be $30. So we normally advise them, if you can, start with $2,000. But now we encourage everybody, even with $100, you can start investments. Unit trust, it's less than that. They can start with just over $20.
Okay, so when you have, that's so good, just $100 or $20. So over here, it's how long it stays in,
Yes. The only thing is that $20 and $100, in terms of the number of shares, it will be less, and also the benefits you receive, the dividend or even the growth, it will be kind of less.
Okay.
You will see the effect of a significant return of the growth if you keep on putting additional funds.
Okay, so you can start off with 100 and then maybe next pay, and then
put another 100 or 50 or.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and unit trust on the other side, they allow people to also deduct from their bank to unit trust, and also for us brokers, we continue to allow that. But once that reaches a certain amount, say $300 or even $500, then we invest. It's just because of the fees and also because of the price of the shares as well.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much, Esaromi. That's, I hope, very clear for you. But, hey, if you have any questions, you can call 3220907 or 3220906. This is a live radio talkback show, and we have the delayed coverage on FBC TV. That's every Tuesday nights at 11 and the next day, Wednesday at 11. On Speak Your Mind, we'll be back soon. Speak Speak Your Mind on Gold FM. Only the classic hits. Louise with you today. And we've got our guest. That's from the South Pacific Stock Exchange, the Business Development Manager, Mr. Pritesh Prasad, and also Manager in Fiji Stockbroker, Romy Emmanuel. Now, we've got a caller on the line who is interested in asking a question. So we'll just get his name. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Yes, this is Speak Your Mind. You have a question for our guests, I believe.
Yes, my name is Jimmy. I just heard you talking about if you are making less than $15,000, you're eligible to apply with legal aid and get your probate out. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Legal aid has got certain level of what they'll do is they'll have a check on you, and if you're earning less than 15,000, then they'll provide some free service for you, but probably you have to pay for the advertisements.
Okay, but my question is this: if my wife is making more than 15,000, but I don't work and I want to take my probate out for my mother, can I do that?
I think that's a question probably that will be answered well by the legal aid. Yeah.
Okay, because it's been 6 years and I'm trying to get the probate out because I don't work, I don't have the money, but my wife works.
But have you tried them? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Have you tried them?
No, I haven't, because I was trying to go through a lawyer who would do a pro bono, but
Yeah.
I can't find anyone either
Okay.
who would do the pro bono.
See, the other option is if you can go directly to the court registry.
Right?
So you don't have to go through a lawyer. They'll assist you in the process of getting a probate under your name.
Oh, I see. You mean the High Court Registry in the government building?
Yes.
All right, okay. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Is that all you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you very much for calling.
Thank you, ma'am.
Vinaka.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. So there we are. We've had a caller, and you can call if you want as well, 3220906 or 3220907 if you have a question, because we have the professionals here with us to explain. Thank you very much, Romy, for that explanation. So we'll just move on. And, we've got the Capital Markets Week next week. This year, you, I believe, involving school students in a quiz. Is that right?
Yes, Luis. I think the Reserve Bank of Fiji is in fact organizing that, and as we speak, I think it's already in the process. It was a capital markets quiz whereby certain questions were issued by the Reserve Bank, and there were schools that needed to register and then participate in that. So the exact details are with the Reserve Bank of Fiji on that. But it all fell part of the entire capital markets week that's coming up next week.
Okay, so are you having like a booth set up somewhere?
Yes. So it's a week-long event starting 2nd July.
Okay.
Next week Monday, and it will continue until next week Friday, 6th July. So we will have, and this is going to happen at the FNPF Boulevard, starting from 8:30 a.m. daily, and it will continue till 4:30 p.m. I think, or even for 5 for certain organizations. And in that Capital Markets Week, we will have booths that have been set up, that will be set up from the stockbrokers. We'll have the stock exchange booth there as well, and with them we'll also have our other capital market intermediaries like the unit trust. And I understand there will be certain external institutions that will be invited to be part of the Capital Markets Week as well. Now, we from the stock market, what we can advise is, if you are someone who has been thinking about investing for a long time, and if you are not able to even call us and speak to us here on this show, you get an opportunity to actually come down and meet with this licensed stockbrokers, talk to them, present to them your buying interest or your investment interests, and based on whatever your circumstances are, the stockbrokers as well as the stock exchange will be able to advise you and also help you start up with your investment journey.
Vinaka, do you have many people who've invested in the South Pacific Stock Exchange?
Yes, there are many people who are investing in listed company shares on the stock exchange. Now, if I give a rough estimate, there are 19,000 plus investors, both local as well as overseas investors who are investing in the local stock market here.
Oh, that's interesting.
And if I can add, and I think as Rom has mentioned, there are a total of 19 companies that are listed on the stock market. And if I can also add, there is a upcoming or new listing that is going to happen next week. So if you are someone who is starting, who has been thinking about investing, this is an opportunity for you. If I can say the name as well, Kontiki Finance Limited is going to list next week, Wednesday on 4th July. And if you want to register your buying interest, you can also contact the stockbrokers at Fiji Stockbrokers or any other brokers to register your interest and be part of that company or become a shareholder.
Oh, that's good. Now, just a bit of history. How long has the South Pacific Stock Exchange been running in the country for?
Yes, we are more than 35 years old. I think we started back in 1978. That's a little bit of history because we have been in existence for quite some time, as I said. Initially, I think we started with 4 to 6 listed companies only. At the moment, we have 19
Wow.
companies going
Yes.
into 20 companies. And over time, this has grown. Now, in terms of technology, prior to year 1996, trading used to happen through not through call sessions, but through over the counter, or more so through phone calls. Now, from 1996 is when the legislations came in, and the industry got a bit more structured, and that's when the coal market session started happening. It's more like an auction market that continued until 2010, and from 2010 continuing up till now, we have an electronic trading platform. So the stockbrokers, they do not necessarily have to be based in their offices. They can be anywhere around in Fiji, as long as they have access to internet. They can trade on the platform. So we have made progress in terms of technology. We are quite well advanced in terms of our website. We are a hub of information. So you need any information related to any of the listed companies, you can visit our website. That's www.spse.com.fj. You can also go to Facebook and like our page there as well, and get access to all these information that keeps going up on a real-time basis, or more so on a very regular basis, as I would say.
Thank you very much, Pritesh. Esarami, now you must be in the business for quite a long time, have you?
Yes, yes.
So I mean, from he said you started with six companies, and now you've gone up to how many? 19, right? So I mean, in your time, it must have been pretty difficult to attract investors.
Yes, when it started, as mentioned, started with 4 companies and then went up to 6. And at the time, I was with Colonial at that time.
Right.
So I was in the investment field from that time till now. And it's quite interesting. However, there still needs to be a lot of awareness for people. We know there's a lot of funds, a lot of money around, but people still need awareness and also probably encouragement
right.
to invest, and that's where the investors, the brokers and the investment advisors are important. And the brokers and the advisors at this time, they are available as well for those who want some advices or those who want some awareness, including stock exchange, that we can go out to them, have some sessions with them if they are still not probably in terms of awareness or knowing which company, which type of investments. So we can go down to that level to encourage investors.
All right. Thank you very much, Saromi. We'll be back soon on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Hope you're enjoying our topic today, empowering you to just look to your future and maybe invest in the South Pacific Stock Exchange. But just a question that I've got here for our friend, and this is business development manager rather, This is Mr. Prasad Pritesh, as I am calling him today. Can you share some forms of returns that investors can expect?
Thank you, Luis. As I mentioned earlier, the stock market is the only form of investment that gives you two forms of returns. So one is, of course, the dividend return that you get from the listed company shares, as well as the capital gain. Capital gain, in simple terms, is the increase in share price. Now, if you look at the stock market average return that we gave last year in 2017, there was a 27.6% total market return. So if you look at just the dividend portion, it was 3.8% tax free. Now, when I say average return, it means it's an average for all the companies, the 19 companies that were listed as of 31st December 2017 then. Now, if you want specific details, because there are certain companies who would have posted higher returns, so the average is 3.8% for dividend. There would be certain companies that would have posted returns such as 10% or 11%. Now, that's the dividend portion. The second portion is the capital gain. Capital gain last year on average, the increase in share price on average was 23.8%. Now, again here, there are certain companies, if you look at on an individual basis, they would have posted returns of up to 50% as well in terms of share price increase. Now, if we add the dividend portion as well as the capital growth portion, then the return was 27.6% in total. Now, again, this is the average for the market. If we do a calculation and see how the market has performed over the 6 months this year so far, it again ranges above 21 or 22% around that mark. So that in itself, these percentages indicate to you that stock market has that ability to offer you returns which are very lucrative, very high in comparison to other alternatives that you have. But of course, the other side is the risk bit of it, which is manageable. Now, if you are a person who follows the stock market or follows the companies that you have invested in, gets in touch with the stockbrokers and reads the reports that get sent to you, then obviously you are managing your risk. So while you manage your risk, you have the potential to get these kind of returns that I've just talked about.
Thank you very much, Pritesh. Now I've got a question for our friend here, and he's manager in Fiji stockbroker, Esaromi Emmanuel. Now, I'm just interested to know, like you've said that you have 19 who are listed in the South Pacific Stock Exchange, 19 companies I'm talking about. So could you tell us who they are?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Luis. I think the first one I can mention where probably everybody will relate to is ATH. ATH is Amalgamated Telecom Holdings. It's a holding company that has now Vodafone, Telecom, and Fintel. So those are the main companies under ATH. And then we have for FMF group of companies. We've got FMF Flour Mills, you've got the Rice Company, and you've got ADPAC, Atlantic Pacific. And then you have one Future Forest Investments Company. We have even Fiji Television Company that you can buy shares into. Kontiki Growth Fund. We have the beer company. Now it's called Paradise Beverages. And we have the water supply company, Please Beverages. Pacific Green is also listed. We can buy shares in. Then we have Toyota Tusho. For us who don't know, that's related to Escomodos. That's the company you can buy shares in. And we have VBH, which is Vishal Bhatia Holdings. It's managed by the Naranjan's group of companies. And we have BSP convertible notes that more or less relate to how BSP Bank performs here in Papua New Guinea. And then we have Vision Investment Limited. This one relates to mainly Quartz. If you, all of us know Quartz, this is the company that comes under it. The parent company of Quartz.
Right.
And to all Itauke's, the Fijian Holdings Limited. So Fijian Holdings is only limited to Itauke's who have their names registered in the VKB or Volini Kambula.
Oh.
So for all others, they can't buy shares in Fijian Holdings Limited.
Oh, okay.
So those companies, 19 companies, they've got different returns even in terms of dividend and also in terms of growth.
So how can you judge, like you being the stockbroker, you have to advise the investor which companies are the best, right?
Yes.
Or
yes.
doing really well.
Yes. So what we normally do, we give them the historical results, how they perform in the last how many years, and also we give some insights of something they are doing now and also in the future that will we can say we can improve or probably doesn't improve the performance of the company.
Right. So it's all there.
It's all there. Figures are there. We give to the customers when they do, or sorry, the potential investors when they come in.
Oh, very good work. That's really interesting, Mr. Romy. Now, how does buying and selling stock work?
Okay. So when an interested investor comes in or call in through the phone or email, what we normally do is send out some preliminary information to them about the share market. We refer them to the website. We give them financial results and all those. So once he agrees to invest or made up his mind to invest in which company, then what we encourage them to come to the office, or we send them a form for them to fill, and then we exchange the information. We ask them about their objectives and also what are their targets are.
Okay.
And then they'll fill the forms, and that's where we can start, and then they pay us the funds, and we can invest for them.
Man, thank you so much. It's been great having you too. I'm sure a lot of people would understand better how the South Pacific Stock Exchange works. So from the Business Development Manager, Mr. Pritesh Prasad, thank you so much. And also Manager and Fiji Stockbroker, Esther Romy Emmanuel Vinaka.
Naka, Luis.
On Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you later.